Okay, for those of you who are watching, Kyla's device had some challenges. For everyone who's listening,
My laptop
you're not
blew
gonna
up.
hear any of this probably, so okay. Um, yeah, what was I talking about?
We were saying how, and it's different in grad school because your advisor, the people that you work with, your professors see you more as like a colleague
Yeah,
versus a
yeah,
student they need to churn grades out for.
yeah, and I think, the main thing is, like, you kind of get to this point where it's just like, "Oh, they actually want me to know what they know." Like, it's not a us versus them type
Yeah.
of thing, like, they hold all the knowledge and I know nothing, and they don't want me to know.
Yeah,
Like, it's
even like in undergrad, it feels like sometimes like, oh, there are these classes that have teachers that are trying to trick you and trying to hide
mm,
the information or they want you to do bad. And while there are people like that, grad school is completely different where,
mhm,
it's like, hey, you're wasting all of our time if you're just here to trick folks. And oftentimes if people are teaching a class, it's because they're passionate about that sub area or that subject. So there's
mhm.
no incentive to admit a person to a program, pay for them to be there in most cases, and then decide to make it unnecessarily difficult and trip them up. Like, it makes no sense.
Allegedly. No, I'm just
Allegedly.
kidding, I'm
I would
just
say
kidding.
on the school side, on the trainer sort
Yeah,
of side, like, there's other factors at play that definitely happen systemically that should not happen.
mhm.
But people think on the surface that they are making the best choices for the success of the students.
Yeah, I think so, and sometimes it's just like, "But you aren't." But that's another story for another day.
That is a whole nother episode.
But I think it kinda leads to this next question that you have about, like, what kind of person should pursue academia as a career path? Like,
Yeah. I would
do you
say
go
yeah.
ahead.
I know for me, like, being a computer scientist, I think in ones and zeros, it's on or it's off, it's yes or it's no. So I had to have like, there's no maybe, there's no gray
Mm,
area, and I
mhm,
don't work well in gray area. Well, at least I did not think that I worked well in gray areas, and I did not like gray areas. But academia is one big gray area, especially with research. So you're working on a problem that may not even have a definition. You might not even know what are the appropriate questions to ask in this area. The research may be gray. You may be looking for, hey, what are the best practices for X, Y, and Z? And the answer is this, but sometimes it's that, but other times it's this, but only in this context. Like, there's very hard, it's really hard to draw these lines in the sand. And I wanted it to be so linear and I wanted it to be very concrete, and it wasn't. And I needed to, for myself, just define my own ones and zeros, because even though my research itself, you can't just, you have lots of gray areas, you don't always know everything. And like, you may have a research question and you may not know how to answer it or what to measure to go about answering it. So you basically, I had to make the concrete parts myself to say, okay, in order for me
mm.
to answer this question, these are the things that I think are important. And this is what I'm going to study. And just having my ones and zeros that kind of exist in the context of a larger gray area. So that's kind of how I think of academia. It's a whole lot of unknown, but you can do research, run studies, have experiments, etc., that help you get to some of those ones and zeros within the gray area. But I would say, like, a person, if you need to have like definite answers and things to be very objective, then you might want to think about that a little bit.
Yeah, this is very computer sciencey of you, Kyla.
Well, I'm definitely in the right major for it
Mhm,
because that is how my
comparing this
brain goes.
analog and digital problem.
Yes. Grad school is research is so analog, and I
Mhm.
need digital.
I mean, you just make your own conversions, so
Exactly, you
there
make
we
your own
go.
conversions.
Okay, so, I mean, I like academia as an option because of the autonomy that you have
Mhm.
as a faculty member. So, like, even as instructional faculty, I get to decide how I teach you what I teach you,
Mhm.
and it's really freeing for somebody to be like, Okay, here's the general gist of the idea of what you need to show, what you need gotta talk about, like, yeah, check some of these boxes. Everything else is yours.
Yep.
Do with it what you please. Oh my goodness. As somebody who's, like, a creative in a technical space, it is the best space to be in. Like, I can do anything. Like, we watch Netflix in one of my classes because there's a really good documentary that I think points to all of the narrative of a problem that, like, I can encapsulate myself, and I get to hear straight from the source, like, what's going on in this problem, right? And I mean, it's really kinda nice to, like, sit and, like, watch students, like, minds change about something because you've presented them with new information.
Mhm.
I love watching the students in my class struggle and, like but, like, to the ultimate goal of, like, reaching that aha moment, like, "Oh my goodness, I figured it out, like, Dr. Waisome, look what we did," like,
Right.
or, like, showing me their final because I teach a design class, so, like, showing me their final design, which has taken them months to create and all this planning and, like, how proud the students feel of their work, like, it's so rewarding,
Yeah.
super rewarding work. So I love it so much.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend it, even though I had to have my like own reckoning with myself of like, okay, how much of this gray area can I handle? It's definitely very, very freeing. Like, you can't tell me how to teach what I teach. There's so much liberty, but I know it's not like that in other majors too. So, again, we're in a field that allows us to do that. But I also have a
Mhm,
colleague who's, not dean, but their department chair has to sign off on their syllabus, what books they use. For
mhm,
me, they're like, nobody really is the expert to tell me what book to use. So
yeah,
I am the expert in what is the book we need to use, or do we even use a book? Because
right,
oftentimes I don't. I have readings from all over the place because computing is such a dynamic field that any book you write is going to be outdated very quickly. So I prefer for us to have, some seminal papers, but then also be on the know, like on what's up to date in our area. Um,
yeah.
and I think it also appeals to people who like to do what they want to do. It
Autonomy.
Yeah, it's definitely the autonomy, and I love that you pulled out the creative side of it too, because the way that people wouldn't think of, like, computing, tech, STEM as, like, creative degrees, but the way that you solve the problem takes a lot of creativity. Sometimes
Mhm,
you can, solve a problem in a way that no one else thought of to solve it, but if you write a paper and convince other people that it's important, or write a grant to say, "Hey, I think this is a way to attack this problem," people it's really cool when you see people go, "Huh, I didn't think about that." It's like,
mhm,
yes, because 'cause I'm creative and I came up with something else, and it's important to have people who look like us in these fields because we come from a whole different background, a whole different lens, and we attack problems in different ways, and we have just novel ideas for problem solving that may not necessarily even be part of the solution if we're not included, if we're not there.
and
Also, we get to travel a lot.
Oh, yeah.
A whole lot. Like, I'm platinum on American Airlines
Oh,
mostly
okay, okay.
because of being a faculty member, because we go to conferences, we go to symposia, we go to, present
Meetings.
our work, we go to National Science Foundation, we go everywhere. I've gone out of the country at least 3 times because of research. Like, I've
Mhm.
never gone out of the country because I went to Hawaii for the first time because of research. Like, and I'm just thinking like,
Still
wow.
salty.
But it's like people don't think, "Oh, the life of a professor, it's glamorous traveling," but it kinda is.
It could be, it
It
could
really
be.
can be.
It really depends a lot on, like, where you end up
Mhm.
and, like, the type of support that you have. So, not all academic positions are the same. The types of resources that you have available to you vary by the type of institution you're at. Like, we're at a large public institution that's a Research One institution, so we're at the top tier of research production. Um, we get a lot of money, and we can use that money to promote the work that we do.
Yep.
And that ultimately leads to us traveling a lot more than some other people.
Yeah.
It's also a preference thing. Like, we like traveling, Kyla.
Yeah. We definitely like traveling.
But I have colleagues who, like, they never go anywhere, and that's a choice that they make.
Yeah. and they can be part of the community in other ways. So,
Mhm.
you don't have to travel, but you do get a
If
lot of
you want to.
opportunities
Yeah.
to travel. Now I feel like having gone through a pandemic, there's a lot more evidence that you can be just as effective virtually. So I do
Mhm.
see some of the travel calming down a bit, but some people we need personal interaction. Like there's some conversations that would not have yeah, me too. Jamie's putting her hand up. I definitely need that interaction as well. So I feel like it's gonna be a situation where the introverts stay home and the extroverts go to the conferences and
Like,
talk
go
to each
see each
other.
other. Yeah.
Yes, because we need each other. It's kinda hard on Zoom to be like, "Hey, join me in this breakout room. I wanna tell you something I'm going through,"
Right.
versus just pulling somebody to the side to say, "Hey, how" even just checking in on people
Or
to
introducing them to my toddler.
exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
"I've known you for years, and, like, you need to meet this human that I created because she's amazing." Like,
Amara's
yeah.
gonna think we all people come from square boxes.
Yeah, like, she's a Zoom baby, y'all,
Yes, she
so,
is.
yeah, like, I'm really excited. She's gonna go with me to a conference in June.
Oh, yay.
And then, like, my parents are gonna come, and after we're gonna go on a adventure to some national parks because
You're all about the national
that's what
parks.
I like to do with my family. We're trying to check off North Dakota, Dakota,
Dakota.
Nebraska, and Iowa.
Are you trying to do, like, all 50 states?
That's what my mom wants to do, and
Okay.
since she's on that mission, so am I.
So you're there too. I love
Mhm,
it.
mhm. I only have 13 left, just in case you're wondering.
What do you know offhand
Oh, I have a list. I can pull
which
it up in a
13? I
second.
wanna know
I
which
mean,
13.
obviously, North Dakota, South Dakota,
Right.
Dakota, Nebraska, Iowa, but also, let's see, Alaska,
Mhm.
Arkansas, Delaware. I'm really surprised I haven't been to
Really?
Delaware. I
I
know.
feel like you have and just didn't know it.
I might have,
'Cause
like, driven through a
Delaware
piece
is,
of it.
like, 15 minutes long.
I
Like, you
know.
yeah.
It's possible. I don't know. Um, so Kansas, New Mexico, like, you would
Mhm.
think I'd been to New Mexico too, but
Yeah.
no. Um I haven't been to Oklahoma, which is weird because
I
my family's from Mississippi, so,
oh,
like, it's kind of right there, but we never went. My mom's been, but I haven't gone. Rhode Island, I feel like
oh,
that's a very strategic place, like, you go
yeah.
there. Vermont, same thing, like,
Really? You
you
gotta go
go
to
to
the Ben&
Vermont.
and Jerry's factory and the Vermont
I
Tennis
just want to
Factory.
I just wanna go skiing
Ooh,
and snowboarding
gotta go
because
during that time of year then.
I'm an outdoorsy person, in case y'all listening are, like, confused. And West Virginia, because I haven't been to West
There's no
Virginia.
reason to go in West Virginia.
There's not
There's
really
no reason.
I wanna go though. I need to
Yeah,
give it a fair shot.
yeah.
That's it.
Just dip your toe over the border and come back.
Maybe I'll go to, like, a distillery or something like that.
That's true. Man,
Hmm.
I need to look at my list. I definitely wanna do all the states, but then after a while, I feel like everything starts to look the same.
It doesn't. It does not look the
I
same.
mean, certain regions start to look the same, where it's like, "Okay, this is the Northwest.
Fields.
This
More
is
fields.
the Southwest," you know?
Deserts.
Yeah, desert, cacti.
Cactus.
I'm like, "Is this Vegas? Is this Arizona?
Snakes.
Is this Texas?" It's all the same
No,
place.
you're wrong about that, okay? You were wrong.
Mhm.
Anyways, what else? I think the other part about academia that's really awesome is that you get to meet a lot of different people,
Yeah.
like, from all walks of life. So, obviously, you're meeting students from all over the world, faculty from all over the world on your campus, but also you could potentially work with really famous people,
Mhm.
whether that's, like, academic famous or, like, famous, celebrity famous. Um
A combination. Christina met Common doing artificial intelligence
Right.
work.
Yeah.
Jamaica opened for Michelle Obama doing
Right.
work
Yeah.
on, like there's opportunities.
Famous.
Famous, famous.
Yeah, so there's, like look at this, my brother's calling. My brother is semi-famous. Anyway, so, yeah, I think there are a lot of really cool opportunities that you get being an academic that may not come to you working in a company and, like, grinding, doing real legit work, making huge strides, but it's just there's something about being in academia that's different.
And I think there's also something that's right in front of our faces. This podcast. Like, we just decided, hey, this is going to be a lovely intervention for Black women in this field. And people said, hey, y'all got PhDs. I trust you. Here's some money. Do it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think they would have done this if we weren't in academia, weren't in this space, did not have PhDs. So people tend to think of you as like the expert on stuff. And even if you don't think you are the expert, just pretend like you are. You
Mm.
can pretend like you are, read
I'm
a
gonna
book.
tell y'all right now, I did not pretend that I was. I was very straightforward with, I am not a computer scientist,
Oh, yeah.
and y'all want me to talk about being a Black woman in computer science.
But that's the thing, you've been in the
Incorrect.
community so much, like, you
Girl,
know
but
the
still,
issues,
like,
and a lot of the issues are similar in
they are.
civil, so
They
it's
are.
not like you're a stranger to this
I
world.
know, but I'm just saying, like, you made it seem like, "Oh, they thought I was an expert." They did think I was an expert, and I
Yeah.
was like,
If you
"But I'm
carry
not."
yourself like an expert, people will assume you to be
Mm,
competent, so it's all about fake it till you make it, I feel like, is
I suppose.
academia.
But that's real. That
Yeah.
is really real. I think the only thing that we haven't really talked about is that, like, just like in the workforce, like, if you go work for a major tech company or a small startup or whatever, there's politics.
Oh, yeah. There's lots of politics, but that's everywhere, though.
And I think I that's what I said. I think it's everywhere.
Yeah.
But there's some special type of nonsense that happens.
Yeah, and that also in combination with the fact that academia is kind of subjective, like the way that
Mhm.
you progress is based on the opinions of others. So then those
Mm.
politics kind of weigh into other people's opinions, and you're like, okay, in order to get a paper published, it's if the reviewers, a subset of reviewers that you have no idea who they are, if they think it's worthy for tenure,
Mhm.
your department has to vote on it. Your colleagues at the college level and the university level have to vote on it. And, if they had a bad morning that morning, they might say no. Like, it's so
Right.
subjective. And then
Mm.
throw politics into the mix, and it's crazy.
Mm. I personally love political scenarios within the confines of, like, universities, and I live for the drama that is a faculty meeting,
Give an
like
example.
No, I'm
Why?
not getting in
I love
trouble.
concrete example. Okay, you don't have to
Okay.
name names.
I just like my favorite thing when I was in computer science, because this is a very unique to computer science thing. Like, I've talked to many, many people at many different types of universities. Computer science department meetings, like of their faculty, are always filled with drama. Y'all want to see Real Housewives level drama at a university? Go to the computer science department's faculty meeting. They are
Always.
usually open and you can sit in and listen. Child, I watched somebody who never comes to a faculty meeting show up to air their grievances while we were all just kind of held hostage.
Right.
And thankfully, there's food there. So I'm sitting there just eating my I'm just gonna
Might as
pretend it
well
was
be
chips and
popcorn.
salsa. Like,
Right.
yes, might as well have been popcorn, just like, "Oh, okay. This is where we're headed." And
Right.
then just watching the department chair just pretend like nothing is happening, like,
Yep.
unaffected, like, straight face,
Unaffected.
and then just acknowledge what was said and then move on, like, it was nothing.
It's like, you said words. You're angry about things. Moving on. The next
Right.
item. You should
So let's keep going with the agenda. And it's like, wait,
Right.
what just happened? I love it. I love it because in my mind, there's an internal dialogue that's happening. Like, there's
Yeah.
no words happening, but I feel the words happening, you know? So,
And I feel like in computer science departments, and I found this also in other departments, they have their own version of this argument. It's
mm,
the people who are the theorists versus like the applied. And it's always
mm,
like, oh, if you do work that has too much of a human component or an application component, you're not seen as credible or
mm,
as rigorous as the people who have highly theoretical work with all of these proofs and
mm,
theorems and equations and numbers. And there's room for everybody. Everybody is necessary. But for
mhm.
some reason, they stay hating
I
on the
do.
folks who do apply slash human facing research. And I feel like it's there this knuck if you buck mentality because oftentimes a lot of the money goes towards the application because, you
Mhm.
know, agencies want to know, okay, I'm going to give you this money. What is the outcome? And a lot of times
Mm.
we're a lot closer to what that outcome is on the side that's more human facing. But then theoretical, they have to draw so many different, well, if this algorithm is correct, then it can apply to this thing that goes into this
Girl, you
device.
gonna upset some people, so I'm
They
just
can
gonna s
be, and they can stay mad. And that's on
Anyways,
period.
this is what I'm talking about right here. Like, it's you're sitting there and you're just like, "Are they really" like, it's a small detail, like one word in a
Yeah,
line
it's
of
so
a
literal.
document, and it's like, "Y'all have spent 30 minutes of my life
Right.
on a word."
On and versus or in a document, something like and versus or,
So
and
there's
to the
that
letter of the
happening.
law. Like,
Mhm,
they are very
mhm.
much to the letter of the law, and situations get sensationalized. I go over logical fallacies with my students, so it's wonderful when like, oh, if we let this happen, then 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 will happen. I'm like, nope, that's called slippery slope, and that is a logical fallacy. This does not entail in turn lead to this. So it's really cool. Just I should just have like a bingo board with the logical fallacies that
Girl.
happen and just check them off
And then
every
the other part is, like, you had your friends in the department, and so y'all just lock eyes.
Mhm. Or we're texting under the table like, "Girl, why she say that? What she
And
talking about?"
what's understood does not need to be said. So we just so
Yep.
we're there.
You just lock
Um,
eyes and just shake your head sometimes, and I sit next to one of the admins a lot, and she is so funny, and we just look at each other, and we're just like she's like, "Now what in the world?" I'm like, "Mhm, mhm."
mhm, mhm. So, speaking of, like, all of that, like, there are a lot of different personalities that you run into
Oh, yes.
in academic spaces. So what do you think makes a good academic?
Ooh. So we talked about like, what academia is like. So I think a good academic is somebody who can counteract a lot of the stuff that happens. So I think resilience is definitely a huge, huge factor. Like you get a lot of no's, a ton of no's. I almost think of it like auditioning in Hollywood, where you might get 100 no's before you get that yes, but you
Mhm.
can't let all the no's discourage you from the yes. Take that turd, shine it off, and submit it again. Shut it up and submit again. Like there's people who, like, oh, you might see they get a ton of grants, a lot of things. And it's like you have no idea how many iterations that proposal or that paper went through with people in the field saying, no, change this, no, do this. But guess what? That no is actually a yes if you change these things. It would be
Yeah.
a lot better if these things had been addressed.
Mhm.
So don't take a no is not final in academia. So somebody who has a lot of resilience to like stand up to a lot of that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people feel like most people who are, like, faculty are arrogant
Mm,
and really, like, self-centered, like, they only care about themselves and their work is the most important work and nobody else's work is important.
I mean, some people are like
Um,
that.
and yeah, I mean, but there are people like that everywhere in everything that you do. So, I I don't think that you have to have that. I mean, I'm not that person. I'm probably really terrible at, like, talking about myself. Um, I don't like to do it. Like, I don't think that I'm special. I'm not special.
I mean, nobody's special,
Did y'all
but
watch Inventing Anna?
I
I
guess
am
so.
not special. Okay, so I think it's important that, like, people hear that, like, that there are people who feel like, you know, I'm just doing work that I love and I'm
Yeah.
passionate about, and somebody's paying me to do that. That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
Like,
And I feel like sometimes the people who you hear the most talk about their work, they're the loudest, but the people who make the most impact are the quietest about their
mhm,
work. So you definitely like have to sell yourself, even though it's like cringe. Like I'm like, oh, here she
mm,
go again, talking about something else, but do it because people need to know what you're doing. People need to know what you're up to because again, academia is so subjective. Like if
it's the
people don't
hardest
know
thing
what
to
you're doing,
do.
it's so hard to
It's
talk
so
about
hard.
yourself. Especially being Black, you come up like, "You ain't cute, what you doing?" Like, it's you ain't special, we come
Right.
up sometimes with this feeling of, like, make yourself smaller in this
Mm.
situation, but
Mhm.
it's exactly the opposite. You need to make yourself bigger in situations, and making yourself bigger is not the same as being arrogant. You can make
Mhm.
what you do known without having, like, a haughty attitude about it, like, "I walk on water," all of that. Like, nobody walks on water around here. So, just balancing that line is definitely
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. I think, the people who I admire the most are people who don't talk about themselves, like, don't promote themselves like that. Like, I think about Juan
Mhm.
and, like, you ask Juan, like, about him,
Yeah.
he's not, like he doesn't feel like he's LeBron James in computer science, like, he doesn't feel that way, but,
I call
like
him the Harriet Tubman of computer science, but
okay, yeah, I
he is a
mean,
very important person of computer
level
science.
of famous, yeah,
Yeah.
like, it's like you'll never hear him talk about himself unless you make him really mad,
Do they know who I am?
which is very hard to do,
Yes.
and I've tried, but, like, I've only heard him talk about himself like that one time, and I've known him whoa, for, like, 7 years now.
Yeah. No, that's serious. That is serious.
I didn't realize it'd been that long, that's a long time. Um, what else?
I'd say another trait, I think, and I lost my train of thought. Allison, please edit that out.
Okay,
There
we
was
don't have to
something
go
else I
there.
was gonna say.
I think, like,
Oh,
people
I know what it
who
was. Okay, go ahead.
see, I just started talking and it worked.
It kinda goes hand in hand. Humility, I think,
Mm,
is also it, but not so humble that you don't brag about yourself, but humble enough to admit when you don't know something, or if someone's better at you than
mm,
something than putting them on your team, delegating things to them. Like, I'm the first to be like, I'm in a project meeting, like, "Hey, guys, I don't know how to take notes and be in a meeting at the same time and talk. So can someone else do this?" And, like, I could have just been sweating it out because I can't type and talk at the same time. It's just
yeah,
distracting to me. But if I had never said something like that, then I wouldn't have gotten the help. And someone's like, "Oh yeah, I can take notes. I don't mind. I'm just here to listen." But talking about what you're deficient at and not being afraid to go to your colleagues when you need help with things. Like, for me, I
mhm,
was trying to get the career award and I got it on my third try. And the thing that made it different, I talked to one of my coworkers who she got it on her first try, and I'm like, "What is your process? What do you do?"
mhm,
And she sat down, we, had about maybe 2 or 3 hours in the library on a dry erase board, and she helped me to think through the problems, and literally
yeah.
the way I was presenting what I was doing was backwards. I was giving the
Oh,
specific and not the broad, and she's like, "No, no, no, start with the broad and then
yeah,
get into the specifics," and just the way that I thought about the problem, or the way I thought about the way I was presenting my work, was fundamentally confusing. So, but also if I could have been like, "Well, I'll try the third time. I'll just do my own thing," I had to be like, "Excuse me, I'm bad at this. Can you help? You're good at this.
and that's
Can you help me?"
huge. Yeah, no, I think being able to recognize your strengths and your weaknesses,
Yeah.
it's an invaluable life skill that you can't it's a trial by fire
Yes.
process, not I think so. Like,
Yes.
it's you don't know what your strengths and weaknesses are until you're put in a situation where you have to figure them out.
And you have to be so
Um,
self-aware. Like, self-awareness is so big.
yeah, and I think college helps prepare you for that, right? Like, you start figuring out like, "Oh, this is rubbing me the wrong way. Like, I just don't need to do this ever again." Or, "I can't work in this type of environment." Or, like, "I
Right.
know the type of people that I can't collaborate with because 'cause
Mhm.
I've been on this team in this group project, and, like, the way they were handling stuff just
Yeah.
made me not even wanna contribute."
Like,
So,
I don't want
like
to be here.
that is a self-awareness thing. So, yeah, I think people who are self-aware and willing to admit, like, "These are my deficits, like, these are places where I need to grow, and these are places where I'm really strong and I can help support something," like, I think that's an invaluable life skill that we should all figure out, and it would make the world a better place if we were able to say, like, "No, I don't know how to do that,"
Yep.
or I'm not the right person for that.
Exactly.
Even though it's gonna, like it could have made me a lot of money, like
Or I can figure out how to do that, but I don't want to.
that too. Like,
Yeah.
no, I'm just not interested.
And I would even say too, in tandem with like being very self-aware, also knowing exactly what tasks require you to do them versus someone else. Because
That's not something that they gonna have, like, coming in.
but
That's not a
that's the
thing.
thing. Yeah, I'm saying, but just being aware of that, like, just
Mm.
know, like, I used to ask myself, does it, like, when people ask me to do things, I'm like, could anyone besides me do this and it achieve their objective? And if the answer is yes, I oftentimes be like, hey, I don't have time for this, but you can contact such and such.
Mhm.
And then even like going into like delegation of things, these are people who are in higher roles. Like if you're a grad student and you have undergrads that work with you, if you're faculty or any of those sorts of things, like being able to articulate what you do to another person to do it so you can be more effective at the things that actually matter. So you're not spending time doing stuff that, I mean, not saying it doesn't matter, but
Mhm.
you have other things that are higher priorities that you need to spend your brain cycles on versus something that's a lot lower, like
Mhm.
paperwork, or
Mhm.
there's a lot that comes at you and you can't treat everything with the same priority. So being able to like really prioritize what is going to move the needle for your career, and everything's at the bottom, seeing who else can do it. For
Yeah,
example, I do not clean my house. My house is always really nice looking. Guess what? Because
it is.
my per hour rate is a whole lot more than the house cleaner that we hire. And I rather have somebody come in and do it because what does not make sense to have a computer scientist to clean a house. That's not my
Mm.
specialization. Someone else can do it. Some people clean is therapy, and that's how they, they can decompress. But for me,
Kyla does not have a toddler either.
I am the toddler in the
No,
house.
no, you're not. No,
I
you're not.
am the toddler. So,
Chaotic energy lives here,
yeah.
okay? It does.
But also, like, it does not make sense to me, at least, to spend 4 hours cleaning when I could have spent 4 hours writing a proposal or writing a grant or something
Mm.
else. And it could have also,
Or just resting
or
your brain.
resting, investing in
Mhm.
myself and resting, or watching Netflix or something that's gonna recharge my battery. So,
Yeah,
being able to realize what you need to do versus what you can outsource to other people.
I love it. I feel like those are all good things, and I think, like, the series could go real deep
Oh, yeah,
about, like, just one of those topics. Sorry,
absolutely.
my foot was itchy. I had to scratch it.
I hope that stays in.
It's real life, man. It's real
Mm,
life. It's been a long day. We're, like, at the end of the week
yeah.
in the late afternoon, so anyways, I am looking forward to the next one of these,
Yes.
and also some more episodes coming out soon. We've just confirmed a bunch of new guests,
Yes, and
so
y'all are
we're
gonna be so excited about the people we have. I'm excited. I'm happy they said yes, so we just got them on the calendar before they
I
could
am
change their mind.
so happy
Yeah.
because who knew?
Yes. So on the next episode that's in this series, we're going to talk about entering graduate school. And some of the topics are differences between undergrad and grad training, the preconditions for a grad education, questions you should ask, finances, how to pick the right grad school, what to
Mm,
specialize in, and knowing if you've made the right career choice. So we're going to touch on a lot of those topics. So this is a series you're definitely going to want to be on the lookout for, in addition to all of our normal episodes, our typical episodes with our guests.
mm. Young, gifted, and
Boom,
Black-ademic.
boom.
I'm excited, so we'll see where this takes us.
Okay, bye.
Girl, bye.